you think the US or indeed the UK could have done differently for us not to be where we are today?
Well, you've heard me talk about what it was called the Doha deal 18 months ago, the Donald Trump led deal for what was supposed to be about peace in Afghanistan. I've said publicly I thought it was a rotten deal. That laid the groundwork. That deal allowed the Taliban to carry on attacking the Afghan government and the Afghan soldiers. It committed to not allowing the West to defend them with air power and everything else. And it allowed them even to release 5,000 prisoners and potentially sanctions relief. So it was a deal that undermined the government at the time and handed a potential military victory to the Taliban. So that's where we are today, right now. I was struck in yesterday's debate, quite rightly, about the honest anger and frustration and fear by many colleagues about what it means for the future, but also what it meant for the people they'd served alongside. And, a lot of my colleagues were veterans in that conflict. But I also heard, very few solutions. And that is the challenge. As you say, what could we do about it now? I felt as Defence Secretary that the one thing we can do, it doesn't go very far, but it makes a bit of amends, is stand by those people that have helped us all the way through those years.
Will British military, will they remain in the country until every last Briton is evacuated safely? And how are they going to get to those Britons who can't make it safely to the airport?
Well, I think your last question is also a question for the United States. I mean, that's what I've been hearing the United States administration being asked the same questions in their press conferences at the Pentagon, which is, how are you going to get to people down a track a long way away? How are you going to do that? And I think, I've been taking a different tack, because I think, to be pretty clear and honest, we won't get everyone back in this situation. That's why we're investing in third country processing and hubs, so that people will, which I do think they will be able to get to in the long term. But in the medium and short term, we are doing everything we can to get people to Kabul. There is some good news today, contrary to some of the media. The Taliban are letting our people through.
How nice of them.
Well, they run the country, Julia. Whatever you say, they run the country. They are letting our people through. They're also letting a lot of other people through, which is why we're seeing huge public order problems on our gates, which our soldiers are doing an amazing job in holding. It's not an easy situation, as you say. Families bringing their children, but they are getting through. Not all of them are getting through. So I don't underestimate the challenges for many living in fear. But they're getting through, and we are processing them.
Just fine.
The longer we get to stay there, the better. That is true. If the Americans get to stay there longer, then we will take advantage of that and do the same.
Okay, just finally, you got quite emotional earlier this week about perhaps not being able to get all Afghan interpreters and others who've helped us and helped NGOs over the years. Do you feel a sense of regret, not necessarily your own personal role, but the role of Britain over the last 20 years, what's happened in recent days, weeks and months? Is there a sense of regret? Do you still feel emotional about this and what we could have done differently to help not just the millions of Afghans journey, but also those particular people who helped us and are definitely going to face a death sentence if they're not out, and also particularly, of course, the women and girls who face a terrible existence under the Taliban?
Well, I always knew there would have to be a deal, at one stage. I regret the deal that was done. I don't think it produced, well, we can see it didn't produce anything like the results that was hoped for. And I think that was a deal that was done in a rushed environment, probably for an electoral cycle. So I think I definitely think that is why we've ended up in the situation we have. And I think that is a really difficult thing, quite rightly, for our veterans to deal with, because they were there to build a better Afghanistan. I think part of it, though, the 20 years did do something that was really important. It basically spread and broke up Al-Qaeda. If you remember, in 2001, it was the most potent Islamist terrorist group in the world. And it had inflicted 9/11 and other plots on both the UK as well. For 20 years, we haven't had that. I was, as you know, security minister for 3 years, and I saw regularly, plots never make it to maturity or be disrupted because of what our soldiers were doing in Afghanistan. So we were safer for 20 years because of what we were doing, and that's worth 20 years. I can't say that's going to be the same in the future. It's why we're investing in new capabilities to deal with what we would say outside-in threats, but that is suboptimal. And that's why it's quite, sad for all of us that we are not in a position where we can do more that we would like to.